Hi everybody, how are you doing? My name's Jordan, or Jordy, and I am a data analyst, a scientist. I've got a PhD in oceanography, and also a market trader. And for the last several years, I've been using a software called RStudio. And I've also been teaching RStudio to students for a few years now. So what is RStudio? RStudio is a software, an environment that allows you to use a programming language called R. And R and RStudio have so many applications. So it's what you can use for data analysis, to make graphs, to do statistics, to make nice tables. You can also use it to write reports and do bibliometric analysis. You can make apps with it. A lot of people don't know that. So loads of things you can do in RStudio. Alright, so we know that some very important skills for the future are going to be AI and coding. Okay, RStudio is free, and I can't believe how amazing it is, how useful it is, in my own life. Some of the students that I have taught have said the same thing as well. Okay, because a lot of people doing data analysis have used another software. Okay, I don't want to get sued, so I might not say its name. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but begins with an E, okay, ends in an L. And in that software, it's very manual. If you want to calculate averages or add up numbers, you would have to scroll down the rows with your mouse. And that also means that you don't produce a replicable script that then you can use again and again and again. All of that changes when you use coding. So with RStudio, you can make a script with code that's not actually that complex to carry out specific tasks, such as make a bar plot, a scatter plot, or do a linear regression. Then you have that code in the script, and you just have to change a couple of things about the code the next time around for a different data set. So it's so useful, and it saves potentially years off of your life once you learn it. When I've been teaching quite a lot of beginners, from some of them are from universities. In universities, some of them are not. And even at universities, some of them are master's students, undergrads, PhD students. It's a big range of people that are learning R nowadays, and who have been fortunate enough to help. For the total beginners, what I realized is it really helps to have a good structure to learning RStudio. And I've found myself continuing a kind of stepwise progression of lessons, with these students. I thought what I'll do is I'll make a YouTube channel that shows some of the basics of R within a mini-series, maybe 10 episodes or something like that, of some very useful first things you can do, for if you're just kind of beginning in R. But some of it will actually be really useful as well to people that have a lot of experience in it and at any stage of their careers. They don't have to be scientists either. What I'm trying to do at the moment is reach out to companies that want to analyze their data, whatever that data is about. Data, when I've moved, my brain has changed a lot from working just on specific subjects back in my PhD. I worked on a type of plankton known as arrowworms. Now I look at all kinds of questions. I look at questions in psychology, questions in political science. I still look at some marine biology questions as well, but you can apply the same statistical methods to all kinds of different data sets. You can make the same kind of graphs for all the kinds of different data sets. So it's really, really useful for anybody to learn, to be honest, especially if you analyze data or are trying to predict anything or get an idea about your stocks or your markets. Okay, so in these 10 episodes, I'm going to start from the very beginning. And today, what I'm going to do is remove the version of RStudio that's on my computer and install it from the very beginning. Okay, so we can start from the very beginning and I'll take you through it week by week. Maybe I'll upload on my YouTube channel and on my website, which is jordycoding.com, once weekly, if not more frequently than that. I don't have a lot of experience in YouTubing and video recording for that, so please be patient with me in that. What I'd like to do is create like a little community where I can help you on any stats problems, any RStudio problems if you like, and I'd be happy to teach you as well. Okay, so this is RStudio that you're looking at, and you have been looking at behind my face for the last 5 minutes. This is the environment where we do all of our coding and make nice graphs and stuff like this. When you install it from the internet, it's not going to look like this. Okay, I've changed some settings, so my background is blue and stuff like this. The panels are also organized differently, but don't worry about any of that. Okay, we'll talk about that next week when we change some settings in R, generally to make your life a bit easier and to simplify the process, so you don't have lots of stuff in there that you're not really likely to use. At least I'm not. Okay, we're going to close that. Then we can go into an uninstaller program on my computer. I'm going to uninstall RStudio. Yeah, okay. So just bear with me a second. We can carry on talking when any installations and uninstallations are happening. Okay. I wanted to make this video series for a while now, but this is the right time. I got a new computer as well, and I use Windows PC for all of this stuff, but you can still use RStudio on a Mac. So feel free to write in the comments below if you have experience with RStudio already, what your challenges have been, or where you heard about it if you're just hearing about it for the first time. That bit doesn't make sense. Where you heard about it, or if you're just hearing about it for the first time. Could be that you've heard about it from a colleague who's using it. That process of uninstallation is now complete. Alright, okay. So yes, exactly. We're going to go into Google and we're going to search for install RStudio. The first link here is posit.co. Okay. Right. So the first thing we need to talk about is that you need actually two apps for this to work. Okay. Before RStudio came along, there was Base R. Okay. Base R looked like something from the 1950s. Okay. It kind of reminds me of these, and then I'll be showing my age. Okay. But they're kind of like coding things that we learned back in school. No, let's not talk about that. So it's definitely improved, okay, because this doesn't have too many options and menus and stuff like this, but the RStudio does, which makes it a bit more user friendly. It is RStudio is a coding environment, but there's some things that you can do in menus, which brings it closer to other apps that you might be more familiar with. Okay, not many people use this anymore. Some of the code still works, but there's also probably libraries, and we'll talk about libraries later, that you can only use in RStudio and not in Base R. You don't need to do anything with that anymore, okay? Okay, but what we do need is we need to install R, okay, first, for RStudio to work. This is an opportunity for me to install the latest version of R. It's 4.5.2 now, okay, and I had 4.5.1. Okay, you're going to go here, you're going to go on, so basically download R for Windows if you've got Windows, download R for Mac OS if you've got a Mac. We're going to install R for the first time, okay, download 4.5.2. That is now downloading onto my computer. Once that's downloaded, we'll install that, and when that's installed, we can install RStudio back at the Posit website. Okay. So this process of setting things up on your computer probably won't take any longer than 20 minutes. Okay, right, so this is in my downloads now. Something I should note here, which will be the case probably for the entire... Hi guys, I'm back. I already ran into a technical issue, which is that the software, the recording software I'm using, stopped recording when I tried to install the software. You know where the RStudio and the R, where that box comes up where you have to give permission. Apparently the recording software just stopped working. So what I had to do is, skip that approval stage and then start recording from here. Okay, so we are now installing R onto our computer, 4.5.2. The default settings here are perfect, which means we can just click next all the way through. Okay, next, no accept defaults, that's what you want. And all of this is fine. Okay, and this will be installed onto our PC or our Mac. The software R and RStudio is very similar for both, by the way. And after this, we can install RStudio. Okay, that's a success. Okay, so now that R is installed, we are going to install the most recent version of RStudio. Okay, so just like with R, we can just go through all the default settings, accept all the default settings. The process for this is quite similar for a Mac or a PC. Okay, note that you need to, or you don't need to, but it's recommended to always get the most recent updates of R and RStudio when they come out. Both of those update from time to time. RStudio updates more frequently than R. For RStudio, you get a notification within the app that there's a new update available, and then you just follow through the instructions, which will take you through the same path that we followed today. There's also a third thing to update, which is packages within RStudio. We'll talk much more about packages later. They basically allow you to do certain things in R, okay, and you need to have them loaded and running to be able to do those things. But that's maybe for the next video or the video after. So it's been a success so far, guys. Okay, now we're going to go into our computer folders and find the app that's been installed, RStudio. Right, so this is the app of the moment, okay, RStudio. This is what it looks like in its default settings, its default glory. Now, when you compare that with the version that I showed you earlier, you'll see it looks very different, okay, but we can make it look like that. I changed some settings in the Tools menu, Tools Global Options, and we'll go through those settings in the next video. For now, I could already see how people could be confused because there's something hidden here by default, okay? What we're seeing is a console here, and that's where the code is run into, okay? But we don't generally write directly into the console. See this button here that's got like the minimize window, okay? We're gonna click that, and then this appears. This hidden panel is the script, okay? And this is where we write codes prior to clicking the run button, and then it runs into the console. Okay, but we generally don't write directly into the console because it's harder to change code if you make a mistake or if it doesn't work. We can always write into the script, and then we can save that script. Okay, so you do File, Save As. And this is going to save as a file type just called R, and you can save it with whatever name on your computer. We'll put it into a specific place, but we'll talk about that next time as well. Okay, that script, okay, or also called a source panel, the source panel here, allows you to leave notes to yourself with hashtags in front, okay, as well as code which doesn't have hashtags in front. And these notes can be very useful just to keep track of what you're doing for yourself and for anybody else that you send your script to. They can see the process that you were thinking when you wrote this script. It's very, very useful for bigger projects to leave a lot of notes to yourself. Okay, the default looks like this. Source panel here, console here underneath, okay? Then there's another panel here which can show the environment as in stuff, data sets you've got running on in R, okay? I don't really use this panel very much, to be honest. And then this panel down here, which contains, both of these contain like tabs, just like you see in a browser on a computer, on the internet, Chrome or Edge. Okay, some of these I use a lot and some of these I don't. Okay, but different things like graphs will appear in different panels, in different tabs. For example, graphs will appear in plots, certain tables appear in viewer, okay, and you can also get help from the internet about lots of things in R. So that's the default interface in R. In the next episode, I will show you how to change the appearance of this if you want to, so you can get into grips with the settings. And then we'll start inspecting what kind of data are already in R that we can use to help understand data analysis and coding. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that, and please leave your comments below, and we'll catch up in the next video. Bye.